The city shimmered under a hot July sun. Heat waves bent the skyline and traffic hummed like restless bees. Inside a tiny apartment, Emma Reed pressed a cool cloth to her grandmother's forehead. The air conditioner had failed days ago. Sweat trickled down the old woman's face as her breathing turned shallow. The hospital invoice on the table felt heavier than paper. Payment was due tomorrow. Emma's job at the diner barely covered rent. Every number on that bill was a wall she could not climb. She scrolled through her phone searching for a miracle. Charity programs, loan requests, community boards, nothing helped. Then a post appeared. Urgent caregiver needed. Discreet, high-pay CEO family. The address led to St. Clair Hospital. The building's glass facade gleamed in the afternoon light. Inside, cold air and the smell of antiseptic replaced the heat outside. A man in a gray suit waited by the elevator. He checked his watch, then looked up. "Miss Reed?" "Yes," she answered, clutching her bag. "I'm Thomas Hale, legal counsel for Hale Industries. Follow me." The elevator opened to a quiet floor where sunlight spilled through wide windows. Machines beeped in steady rhythm behind closed doors. Thomas stopped at room 407 and gestured inside. On the bed lay Adrian Hale, 35, the youngest self-made billionaire in the city. Tubes and monitors surrounded him. Even unconscious, his presence filled the room. Thomas spoke calmly. "Adrian was in a car accident 3 weeks ago. Stable but unresponsive. His mother believes a familiar voice or presence might help. She's offering $200,000 to someone who can stay with him, talk to him, and provide emotional support." Emma's throat tightened. "Why me?" "Your references from the diner mention kindness and patience. We need someone discreet and trustworthy." She stared at Adrian's still face. The money could save her grandmother. She thought of nights spent listening to her grandma's stories about love, sacrifice, and survival. "Will I be alone with him?" she asked. "There will be nurses nearby. You're not being asked for anything improper, just your time and compassion." Emma looked again at the invoice, burning a hole in her memory. Her hand shook as she signed the contract. Later that evening, she sat beside Adrian's bed. The summer sun dipped low, turning the sky gold. Machines hummed softly. She reached for his hand. "Hi," she whispered. "I don't know if you can hear me, but I need you to fight. Someone needs you, and I guess I do too." Outside, cicadas sang in the warm night. Emma didn't know her life had just changed forever. Morning sunlight streamed through the hospital windows, warm and bright. The city outside was already alive with the buzz of summer traffic. Emma slid into the room quietly, a paper cup of coffee in her hand and determination in her chest. She placed fresh wildflowers from a street vendor on the bedside table. Their scent mixed with the sterile hospital air. She settled into the chair beside Adrian's bed. His face was peaceful but distant, his chest rising and falling beneath crisp sheets. "Good morning, Adrian," she whispered. "It's another hot day out there. I thought you'd like these flowers. My grandma always said wildflowers bring stubborn souls back." The machines hummed in response. Emma opened a worn paperback she had borrowed from the hospital library, a book of short stories. She began to read aloud, her voice steady but soft. Hours passed. She spoke about her grandmother's recovery schedule, about the nurses who snuck her extra pudding cups, about the city skyline that shimmered like glass in the heat. Every word felt like a thread connecting her to him. She reached for his hand, brushing her fingers against his. "I don't even know if you can feel this, but I need you to wake up. I can't do this alone." Then a faint squeeze, so light she almost doubted it. Her breath caught. "Adrian, that was you, wasn't it?" She leaned closer. His lips parted slightly, but no words came. The heart monitor beeped a little faster, then steadied again. Emma jumped up and waved down a nurse. The nurse checked the monitors, adjusted a few settings, and smiled. "It's a good sign. Keep talking to him." Emma sat back down, her pulse racing. She felt the first spark of genuine hope since signing the contract. By midday, Thomas arrived, impeccably dressed despite the heat. He stopped in the doorway, watching her. "You're different," he said quietly. Emma blinked. "Different? Others tried before you." They sat here and waited, bored and silent. "You talk to him. You make this room feel alive." Emma looked down, embarrassed. "I'm just doing what you're paying me to do." Thomas studied her for a moment. "You're doing more than that." After he left, Emma stayed well past her scheduled hours. She played a song from her phone, a simple piano melody her grandma loved. She imagined Adrian hearing it somewhere deep in his mind. As the afternoon sun dipped lower, the room glowed gold. She leaned closer and whispered, "The world outside is beautiful tonight. The sky's turning orange. You should see it." For a fleeting second, Adrian's eyelids fluttered. A single tear slid down Emma's cheek. She whispered again, her voice shaking, "Please don't stop fighting. You don't even know how many people need you." The air conditioner hummed, cicadas sang faintly outside, and the city skyline blazed with late summer light. Emma stayed until the nurse gently urged her to leave. Walking out into the hot evening air, she felt a strange pull in her chest. Something fragile had shifted in that room, like a door cracking open. Back in her apartment, her grandmother stirred, looking stronger. Emma sat beside her, stroking her hand. She didn't mention Adrian's small movements or the hope blooming quietly inside her. Not yet. But as the city lights twinkled outside, she knew tomorrow she would return to that hospital room. She would keep talking. She would keep believing. And deep down, though she barely admitted it to herself, she knew this wasn't just about saving her grandmother anymore. It was about something bigger, something she couldn't yet name. The summer night wrapped the city in its humid embrace as Emma drifted to sleep, clutching a tiny piece of hope that felt impossibly real. The hospital corridor buzzed faintly with evening activity. The summer heat pressed against the glass windows, turning the skyline into a haze of gold and red. Emma pushed open the door to Adrian's room, her pulse quickening with anticipation. He was awake, his eyes, hazel and sharp even in weakness, flicked toward her. His lips trembled as he whispered, "Who are you?" Emma froze, the sound of his voice stealing her breath. She stepped closer, careful not to startle him. "I'm Emma," she said gently. "You've been unconscious for weeks. I've been here with you." Adrian's brow furrowed. "Why?" She swallowed hard. "Because you weren't alone, and because someone I love needed saving." The heart monitor's steady rhythm filled the silence. The city outside glimmered like molten glass. Doctors arrived quickly, checking his vitals, adjusting machines, whispering updates. Thomas stepped into the room, relief softening his usually rigid features. When the room emptied again, Adrian's gaze returned to Emma. "You read to me," he said slowly, his voice hoarse. "I remember fragments." Emma's throat tightened. "I did, every day." A faint smile ghosted across his lips. "Thank you." Over the next days, Adrian's strength grew. He listened to her tell stories about her childhood summers, picking berries with her grandma, running barefoot through sprinklers, the taste of lemonade on the porch. His eyes followed her as she spoke, as though she anchored him. One afternoon, he asked quietly, "What made you sign that contract?" Emma hesitated, then spoke the truth. "My grandmother's hospital bills. I didn't know any other way." Adrian's expression softened. "You saved her. And me." The following week, he was discharged. The hospital room, once full of machines and silence, now felt too small for the weight of what had grown between them. Adrian invited her to his office in the Hale Industries tower. The glass skyscraper caught the summer sun, throwing light across the busy streets below. Inside, the air was cool, the decor polished and severe. He handed her an envelope. Inside was a bonus check, more than she had imagined. "For your grandmother," he said, his voice quiet but firm. "And for giving me another chance." Emma blinked back tears. "I can't take this." "You already earned it," Adrian replied. They stood there for a moment, the city sprawling beyond the windows. Emma realized she was no longer just a girl desperate for help. She had become part of someone else's story, someone who had been lost in the dark and returned because of her voice. Days melted into weeks. Emma's grandmother regained strength, her laughter filling their small apartment again. Adrian called often, at first to ask about her grandmother, then simply to hear Emma's voice. Sometimes he'd say nothing for a few seconds, letting the silence stretch. Those quiet moments felt heavier than words. On a warm Friday evening, Adrian suggested dinner at a small rooftop restaurant overlooking the city. The air was thick with the scent of jasmine and street food drifting up from below. Fairy lights glowed against the sky. Emma wore a simple summer dress. Adrian, still recovering but stronger, stood when she arrived. His smile was hesitant, unpracticed. Over plates of pasta and iced tea, they talked about everything but contracts and hospitals. The conversation flowed like the warm breeze. For the first time in weeks, Emma felt the weight on her chest lift. As the sun set, Adrian looked at her, something unspoken in his eyes. "Emma," he began, his voice steady yet vulnerable. "There's a lot I don't remember. But I remember you, and I don't want this connection to end." The city lights flickered to life around them, a sea of stars trapped in glass. Emma's heart pounded. She didn't know what came next, but she knew she wasn't walking this path alone anymore. Outside, summer held the city in its warm, electric embrace, and somewhere in that vast, glowing world, a new chapter between them was already unfolding. The summer sky blazed orange as dusk settled over the city. Warm air drifted through the rooftop garden where Emma and Adrian stood. The hum of traffic far below mixed with faint music from a street festival. Lanterns glowed between potted palms, casting soft light across Adrian's face. Emma's phone buzzed. A message from her grandmother flashed, "Feeling stronger today." "Don't worry about me." Relief softened Emma's shoulders. She turned back to Adrian, who watched the skyline like a man seeing life for the first time. He took a cautious step closer. "When I was trapped in that coma," he said quietly, "I thought I was drowning in silence. But your voice cut through. I held on to it." Emma swallowed the lump in her throat. "I didn't know if you could hear me. I just needed you to wake up." He smiled faintly. "You saved me, and you didn't even know me." The night breeze swept a strand of her hair across her cheek. Adrian reached out, gently tucking it behind her ear. The gesture was simple, but it carried the weight of every unspoken moment between them. They found a table at the edge of the terrace, overlooking the sparkling city lights. Over dinner, Adrian spoke of the accident, the business trip, the storm, the screech of brakes, and how everything after was a blur until he saw her face. Emma shared memories of long summer days baking pies with her grandmother, of scraping by on diner tips, of the fear that had driven her to sign a stranger's contract. As the night deepened, laughter replaced the lingering tension. The city glimmered around them like a living thing. Later, walking through a quiet park lit by street lamps, Adrian paused beneath a towering oak. "Emma," he said, his voice low, "I don't know what the future holds. My company, my family, they expect a certain version of me. But the man I want to be, he doesn't exist without you in his life." Emma's breath caught. "I didn't come here for promises. I just wanted my grandma safe." "She is safe," Adrian replied, "because of you, and you gave me a second chance I never earned." A firefly drifted between them, glowing briefly before vanishing into the summer dark. Adrian reached for her hand. It felt natural, inevitable. They walked together, fingers intertwined. Somewhere in the distance, a fountain splashed and laughter echoed from a cafe patio. The ordinary sounds of a summer night wrapped them in something tender. When they returned to the street, Adrian stopped at a crosswalk. The Hale Industries tower loomed ahead, its windows blazing with light. He looked at it, then at Emma. "Everything in that building used to matter more than people. But when I woke up, all I wanted was the girl who talked me back into the world." Emma felt tears prick her eyes. She squeezed his hand. "You're not alone anymore." They crossed the street as the light changed. Cars passed, their headlights scattering across wet pavement where sprinklers had cooled the sidewalk. The smell of warm asphalt and jasmine filled the air. Emma thought back to the night she signed the contract. The fear in her chest, the heavy bill on the table. That desperate choice had led her here, under summer stars, beside a man who had been a stranger and was now something far more. They walked on, silent but certain. The city's noise swallowed them, leaving only the heartbeat of two lives newly intertwined. The camera would linger on their silhouettes moving forward, framed by golden streetlights and the pulse of a living city. One choice, one summer night, had rewritten everything.